My name is Georgia, and when I was at Sunnydale, I had the privilege of going on 3 different trips. In 2012, my sophomore year, I went to Uganda, Africa. In 2013, I was able to be one of the first students to go to Nepal as our first trip there. And then 2014, I had the privilege of also going back to Tanzania. In 2012, when I went to Uganda, we went to build one-day schools. But in addition to that, they asked that one student preach an evangelistic series. And after praying about that and thinking long about it, I felt really that God had called me to go ahead and do that, as nervous as it was being that young. So I also preached an evangelistic series on that trip. In 2013, when I went to Nepal, it was a preaching trip, so I went and preached an evangelistic series there in a village in the Huas Valley. And then in 2014, when we went back to Tanzania, it was another building trip like we had gone my sophomore year, and I also preached a third evangelistic series there. Something that sticks out in my mind about the different mission trips that I've gone on over the past years is just seeing how God answers prayer right in front of your face. It's become so real being over there, as well as seeing Him work through me when I was preaching the evangelistic series and seeing the different people how it had affected them, and how some of them who had never heard Jesus before, in just that short amount of time could come to realize that He was so important in their life and He was special to them. So a specific story that has always stood out in my mind, my senior year. So we're over there, we've been over there about 3.5 weeks, and the trip's winding down, and we'd done a couple shopping trips to the local market in town. And as I walked through this major intersection where there was a taxi station, someone bumped me, but there was a lot of people there, so I didn't really think much of it. And later, I went into a store and I went to pay for something, and I went to pull out my wallet, and it wasn't there. And in my wallet was obviously money that I had had to pay for stuff, but as well as my passport. I was a little freaked out about it. We were supposed to be leaving the next day to start the 12-hour drive back to Dar, which is the city that we flew out of. And the closest U.S. embassy was in Dar, and it wasn't going to be open until Monday. So after the sponsor and we walked up, the police station was thankfully just a couple blocks away, and I had ran into, as we were starting to walk there, one of the conference people that had been there with us while we were preaching the evangelistic series was the next store up. And so thankfully we ran into him, and he was able to help us out, and we answered some questions at the police station. And at that point, we had just decided to go back to where we were staying, which is about a 15-minute drive, and just pray about it and just hope that it would turn up. As we went back for lunch, we're just sitting there, Dad and I are praying about it. And after lunch, I was like, Dad, I just really want to go back into town and walk the streets where I had walked and just see, because they don't usually want to keep your passport. It's not of use to them. They're just after the money when you get pickpocketed. And so we were walking up and down the streets, and he had an African cell phone over there that he carried that only a couple people had the number. So if it rings, it must be pretty important. So it started ringing after we'd finished walking the second street that I had been on. And I was like, Dad, answer your phone. And he was like, no, it's okay. I'll get it later. I was like, no, Dad, you really need to answer your phone. And so at that point, it was someone calling to say that my passport had been found and that they would meet us at the police station. So that was probably the most blatant in my face answer to prayer that I could have ever experienced. And from the time that I had lost it and I was pickpocketed to the time that it was given back to me was a total of 3 hours that no one ever thought it would be found. These trips have greatly impacted my life. When I first went my sophomore year, I had never been out of a country. It was a completely new experience. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But after that trip, it really just sparked a passion for missions in my life. And every year I kept wanting to go back. So when I came to college, it's been a little bit harder to maintain going on these trips, but I still try to find ways just locally to even help out and just still be that mission and servant for God and working. Just seeing how when I was over there, they have so little over there, and they are thankful for just those littlest things in life. And so bringing that back here to America and really trying to implement that in my life and just being happy with the small things, it really impacted me greatly. So I really felt that nursing was a good place to start, because I felt like after I graduated, that was something I could use and go travel and go overseas again and be an SM and just go travel and go back to Africa where I first fell in love with it. What I would say to those who have supported me, thank you for all of the prayer and support, whether it was through giving money or just supporting me by encouraging me as I prepared to go. And to any person who's thinking about supporting someone in a mission trip, I really encourage you to do so. It was one of the biggest blessings in my life, and it changed my life. So if you have the opportunity to help change another kid's life, I would really recommend that you do that. To anyone who's considering on going on a mission trip, I would really highly encourage you to step out of that comfort zone and to try something new and to go on a mission trip. I had no idea sophomore year what I was getting into and the love for missions that it would spark. So I really encourage you to try something new and step out of your comfort zone and go.